Hello, it's Chuck Martin of the AI Summit London. I'm happy to say I've got with me Laurence Moroney of Google fame. Welcome, Laurence.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
So a year ago, we sat here and we talked about where AI was on the hype cycle of Gartner. Where is it now?
I think it's still pretty much like massively behind that peak of inflated expectations. There's still a lot of things going on in the AI world that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people are overselling and a lot of people are overhyping. And I'm trying to make it my mission. I'm now former Google. I'm trying to make it my mission to really help some enterprises understand and some other companies understand how they can navigate away from the people who are selling hype and not be the ones who are buying into hype, so that they can really be informed in how to use this technology in effective ways.
So you've been a star at Google. How could you leave that behind?
That's what everybody's asking me, and it took a lot, but I mean, one of the things that I've been really excited about is I've been working a lot with creative people. And primarily creative people who make movies. And so I'm helping some studios in Hollywood with new startups that they're creating, both for the business of making movies and also to empower creatives, so that creatives will really understand how the technology will be effective for them. And we talk about hype, and I mean, Hollywood recently had both actors and writers go on strike.
Right.
A lot of that was because of hype and a lot of the misunderstanding around how the technology could be used to benefit them. And so that's a lot of what I'm really getting involved in. Is like, that's just one small example of like, hey, here's how we can actually portray how artificial intelligence can be used by creatives to help them understand how they can scale better, how they can be using the same tools that the insiders are using, and then maybe how they can be much more effective at everything from amateur movies all the way up to blockbuster productions.
So can you give me some detail of where that might fit in a movie? Like, is it like changing filming?
Sure. So I think there's really two ways. So the first one, and it's there's a studio called VisionWorks that I'm becoming the chief AI scientist for. And what we're really thinking about is the foundation of how we make decisions around how a movie is made, and really cut a lot of the waste out of how movies are made. The average Hollywood movie today costs about $150 million to make, but there are blockbusters being made in other countries for a percentage of that because of the choices that they make to reduce waste. And so one of the things that we're doing is like making predictive models around what will work and what won't. When do you release a movie? Like, for example, if you're going to make a horror movie, most people will release a horror movie around Halloween. But what would happen if you released a horror movie like at Valentine's Day? Right? There's a lot of people who don't want to see a romantic movie on Valentine's Day who may go to a horror movie, and vice versa. So to be able to do a lot of that kind of predictive modeling using artificial intelligence about when to release, how to market, how to budget, who to cast, all of these kind of things, there's troves and troves of historic data. And that's what AI is all about, right? It's taking data about the past, learning from that to build new predictive models. So on the one side is really all of that business around predictive models and predicting what will succeed, what will work, and what will not. On the other half, for creatives, there's really helping to unlock the creativity that they have. So for example, if you want to make a movie today, there's a particular format of how you would create your screenplay. There's various things that producers are going to be looking for. Where do you have your turning points? How do you empower this character? All of that kind of stuff. And like a lot of time, again, talking about waste, there are writers out there who will put their heart and soul into a script. The script will be sent to a production company. The production company will have a person read that script. They'll write a one-page covering note for that. And if that person was having a bad day, or if that person wasn't really really into the script at all, the writer's hopes and dreams die. Right? So, but what if we can have AI helping with that? What if we can have both on the writer's side to help them to produce the structure and the format and the story that producers are looking for, and on the producer's side to be able to analyze the content that's coming in to match that it's exactly what they're looking for. Again, it's really all about reducing waste and really helping people be more effective at being creative and to scale their creativity.
So there's other AI technology in this space, like Ben Labs, a brand and entertainment network. They're using AI to predict what movies are going to be successful. And it looks like you're dealing with kind of the other part of how do you actually make the movie. Is there some potential synergy in those kinds of technologies getting together so that you have actually an end-to-end, this is what will succeed, and this is how to do it?
That's exactly the idea, yes, to be able to do those kind of things, to think about what will succeed long before you film a single frame of a movie. right? I mean, I'll give one example. I'm working on writing a movie myself with one of these studios.
Of course you are.
Of course I am. And that's how I really got introduced to the whole thing. And as we were writing this movie and as we were creating it, we started doing a lot of ideation. Like, for example, in my movie, there's a bad guy. And there's a famous British actor who I'm not going to name, but we all know who he is. He played Sherlock, and so we'll know that. And like we started like kind of analyzing, well, what would happen, if we cast this person to be the bad guy in my movie? And then we were able to start using predictive analytics and to use sentiment analysis from large language models, only to determine that he is a beloved actor, but people love him to be a good guy. And if we were to spend like whatever it would cost to get him, 10, 15, $20 million to act in this movie as a bad guy, then we might be wasting that money. So like that's just one very small example, but there's a lot of like predictive analytics, there's a lot of sentiment analysis, and there's all of these things that are relatively untouched right now that we're really getting pretty excited about. We're saying we think we can transform the entire process of making movies to reduce waste, like I mentioned, and to also kind of, really build the thing that people want to see rather than making it and then hoping people want to see it.
So how does the creative look at this? I mean, I know you come from an analytic background, so you would look at it analytically. How does a creative look at someone like what you're looking at doing, saying, no, wait a minute, I know better than your technology does?
Well, we've worked with a lot of creators, and like there's a couple of sides to what we're working on. One of them is called Muse System Enterprises. And the folks at Muse I've been advising, and they have a lot of creatives actually working for them. So they've built the system for creatives around the input from creatives. So they understand story, they understand story science. They've created a whole new type of story science to build AI models around that. And as a result, their belief, and I agree, is the fact that when we start building a story around story science and understanding what works as far as story is concerned, then you start unlocking the creativity of the creatives and doing what they call sparking. It's a lot of it's like, hey, I'm writing a scene, I need to spark inspiration. How do I write a scene in a particular way to get the drama that I want? How do I get that to pay off further down whether it's a full movie, whether it's a novel, whether it's a short movie, all of those kind of things. So there's a lot of the science has been baked into that. So I'm here to help from the technical perspective, but I'm surrounded by some amazing creatives.
Boy, a year ago we were talking about generative AI and large language models. Now we're talking about movies, and it's the same technology, basically.
Pretty much. I mean, I like to think of large language models, and the untapped potential in large language models is around what I call artificial understanding. Where everybody's talking about artificial intelligence, the real value that you can unlock with LLMs, like I've mentioned, is I call artificial understanding, where the idea is that if you don't think about the LLM as a generative thing that does stuff for you, but if instead you start thinking about it as an engine that can understand what you're already doing and then help spark inspiration about different directions that you can take that in. You're writing a presentation, or you're coming up with ideas to question somebody and making a video like this one. It's when you can have an engine that understands your intent and then starts thinking about the directions that you can go with that intent. And then if you back that up with something like, for example, story science, that can really help you kind of go further down the river of where exactly it is that you want to go. Or maybe find entirely new directions for you. And that's what I'm really excited about with LLMs beyond the generative, is really that let's think about them as artificial understanding engines and build on that.
So a year from now, we're sitting here having this conversation. What are we going to be talking about? Are we going to be looking at your movie by then?
They take a bit longer than a year to do, but maybe I'll have a trailer with me. I don't know. I hope so. That would be really nice. But I think what we'll be talking about then is a lot of the stuff that I'm working on now is theoretical. Right, it's a case of we have a thesis that we think will work, but 12 months from now, we'll have had some time to test that thesis. We already have a couple of movies in production at the studio. I can't talk about what the specifics of them are yet, but they have some household names in them, some folks that you will have heard about. Hopefully in 12 months' time, I'll be looking back and saying, well, this movie with X, we were able to figure this out, and that succeeded, but we were wrong about this, and we've learned, and we're moving on and continuing to improve the model. So hopefully the conversation will be framed that way.
I look forward to that conversation in a year. This is Chuck Martin at the AI Summit London.